stops come alive with traffic. When the sun starts to set, many drivers start looking for a place to park for the night. You know how I sit here as I'm waiting to leave? I'm sitting in a truck just almost exactly like the one that I started in 8 years ago, and it's bringing back a lot of memories of how hard it was back in those days to be gone for such a long time, because I didn't have a cell phone, I didn't have the internet, I didn't have all this stuff to communicate with my wife, and at that time I only had one daughter, and it was a tough go around. I always think back to those days and how much better it is now as far as technology goes. I still miss being at home. There's nothing like being right there in person with your family. Yeah, I started off with Werner in 2002, and at that time they were one of the premier companies, and I guess they are still to this day, but nothing like what they used to be. When I first started out there, they were very good to their drivers, their students, their experienced drivers. As a matter of fact, one of my trainers that I was out with, he always told me that Werner, will come to your aid if you ever need the help. If you are out of a job or whatever, if you're down on your luck, Werner will help you out. And that particular person drove for JB Hunt. He drove for some tanker yanker places, flatbed, I think. He ended up coming back with Werner, and he was training me, and I had left Werner shortly after I got trained and everything, and in 2003, that's when I left. And 2006, I came back, and I actually started training for the company that trained me, and I could already start to see how things were changing then. First of all, Werner's nothing but a bunch of crooks. The people who are up in the big office, they're nothing but a bunch of crooks. Second of all, they treat their employees like crap. From the truck drivers to their office people to their shop people. And when they treat your office people and your shop people, when you treat them like crap, they're going to treat the drivers like crap. And I started to notice that when I came back, and I didn't stay there a year. Then the economy hit, and they pretty much went to a good place to be, to a place you don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole. Of course, they've never paid their drivers worth anything. That's always been a given with Werner. They have never paid their drivers. If you get 30 cents out of Werner, you're from what I understand, Werner is taking these rookie drivers. They're not young. Some of them are old. Some of them are, have careers and other things. But what they're doing, they don't have enough freight. They don't have enough trucks to put new drivers in, but they're still training them, they're still recruiting them, and but with no freight, and they're ending up screwing the drivers, all for that government hookup. And Werner goes from one of the best places to go train, and I used to tell people all this all the time. They went from the best place to go train, where you have no experience, to get experience, and now they're the absolute armpit of the trucking industry. I've heard a lot lot of truck drivers complaining about dispatchers or their company or whatever. There's some of them that's all they do. They do it ad nauseum. And what I've come to find out over the years is that it is what you make out of it. It is what it is. You know, I've often made more money when I'm not complaining, you know. Even though I may go somewhere where I don't want to go, or maybe I'm having one of those weeks where I'm not getting as many miles or as many hours as I want. If you stay persistent, if you stay confident, I guess I should say, things always turn out to be okay. If you go on and on and on about being negative about, you know, whatever your situation. But I have noticed that truckers are probably some of the most thoughtful people there are out there. Sure, we may not, you know, speak right. We may not sound intelligent when we talk. But we have so much time to think out here on the road. And we think about everything that, you know, I've come to realize by talking with a lot of truck drivers is that even though we may not have these big time degrees from big time universities, that most of the truck drivers I've ever talked with or ever known have been very, very intelligent people. You know, if you ever listen to truck drivers on the CB radio, you may hear a cat fight. You may hear some pleasantries exchanged back and forth on the radio. But I guarantee you that any trucker that I've met and vice versa, that we will get the shirt off our backs to that other trucker. No matter how much we'll cuss them on the CB radio, the CB is kind of the way to escape from the stresses from the road. The CB radio on Channel 19 is a perfect place for BS. And if you're a civilian or whatever, just a general person that is not a trucker, and you hear some truckers fighting on the radio, I guarantee you there's probably more laughs on both of those ends than there actually are, you know, actual hate between those two truck drivers. It's all in good fun, and you definitely have to have a strong backbone to actually fit in, especially on the CB radio. Truckers are the nicest people in the world, and I mean that. You go into a truck stop, you go into a receiver or a shipper, you see another truck driver there, you automatically have something to talk about. So as I pass this JB Hunt truck, I'm going to say 73.